So welcome to our session on Johnson Wales Early Enrollment Program, Jumpstart Your Students. My name is Barbara DeSaya. I am the local admissions representative here. I'm also a proud graduate of Johnson & Wales. I've been here, again, like I said, 30 years. I graduated from Johnson & Wales, and also I have a few other staff members joining me today. I have Daniel Palmasiano, who is one of our admissions officers who works with our EEP students here on campus. I have Joe Campos from our Charlotte campus, who is also joining us. He works with our Charlotte students for EEP. I have Margie Coop, who is our local representative here in Connecticut, who will be helping us out and monitoring the chat. So if you do have questions, please feel free to enter them into the chat. And I have a very special guest who I'm actually going to start with this morning for you, Christopher Hofer. He's an actual graduate of Johnson & Wales and from our early enrollment program. So before I get started with talking about EEP and all of that, I want to introduce Christopher. I know he's busy. He was nice enough to join us out of his work schedule. So I want him to introduce himself and talk a little bit about his experience with the early enrollment program. And also I'd like you to talk a little bit about what you do now, and then we'll continue on. So Christopher?
Yeah, I appreciate it. Welcome everybody. I hope this is very informative for you. The early enrollment program is it's an amazing opportunity if you're interested in going to the university in general. I originally went to high school for culinary arts. And essentially that's when I realized I learned about Johnson & Wales. And I quickly realized that I was better with people than pots and pans. It's not for everybody. Some people do love the culinary aspect and baking, and that's fantastic. I decided to go the hospitality route. So when I was looking at Johnson & Wales, I decided to look at the sports entertainment event management major at the Providence campus. And that was really exciting for me. I thought that I could go into that realm, maybe hotels, or maybe in the sports management industry. And from there, I wanted to go to the Providence campus. It's a great spot. It's our largest campus. And I really enjoyed my time at the Downstate campus. I stayed in McNulty Hall freshman year. A big piece for me is I knew I wanted to go there for my 4 years in general for Johnson & Wales. And the early enrollment program was a huge part for me to skip my senior year of high school, go a year early, and whatever classes I was supposed to take my senior year for high school, I could complement with college courses I'm taking at Johnson & Wales. And that was fantastic. The fact that I could, quote unquote, kill two birds with one stone in 1 year was amazing. And at the end of May of my freshman year, I was able to finish my freshman year of college. And I went back to my high school in June, and I walked with my fellow graduates for freshman year. So that was an amazing opportunity that I could, they could go to me, and I had some fellow classmates from high school saying, how'd you finish your freshman year already? And they're saying, I was able to do the early enrollment program at Johnson & Wales, and not a lot of people know about it. So that was a huge piece for me. And while I was at Johnson & Wales, I was a big part of the Collegiate Ambassador team on campus. That is our volunteer tour guiding as well as potential jobs on campus, and basically touring around prospective students and their families. And I got to work with a lot of the great people on this call, which I was really able to learn a lot from and grow as somebody, in the hospitality industry. Another great piece of Johnson & Wales while I was there is requiring an internship. I was very, very fortunate enough to get an internship with the Boston Celtics, taking the train up there daily for my junior year, and I was able to work with the team. And that was my first opportunity in the front office of sports. So bottom line, that is an amazing opportunity that JWU provides, and something that you really should take advantage of, that professional organizations coming out of college, when you're looking to get hired, they really take note of that. And now I work with the Washington Nationals in pro sports, which I'm really, really excited about. I'm a sales representative with them. I started right after the World Series run back in 2019. And obviously this past year has been a little interesting for the sports industry. But right now we just got word that we're going to be starting for opening day. So I love it. I'm really thankful that I did it. And, any questions I'm happy to answer as we go.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much. And if you have questions for Chris, please put them in the chat as I'm speaking. So I started out kind of with the sizzle of what the end result, which I think is really important to see the success that we have with this program. So what is early enrollment? And I saw somebody put in the chat, is it open to any high school student? It is open to actually high school juniors. So it's really an opportunity for a high school junior to enroll as a full-time student here during their senior year of high school. So technically, they would apply, as Daniel will say, through midway through their junior year. So they need to be a junior in high school, and they'll basically do dual enrollment here, completing their high school level courses as well as their college courses for their first year. So they earn credits doing both. They can choose from many of our degree programs here at the university. So they're not limited in terms of what they can major in. There's many opportunities from our College of Business, our College of Food Innovation Technology, Arts and Sciences, Engineering Design, Health and Wellness, as well as hospitality. So you have many opportunities for these students to pick from different degree programs. They're also assigned a supportive academic counselor here at the university. So I think that's super important for those students to know that they have an assigned counselor. So how do you identify a student for early enrollment? As I started, they have to be a junior in high school. These students are highly motivated. And when we say that, these highly motivated students are generally have a higher maturity level. So they know what they want to do typically. They're ready to get started. They're looking for a challenge beyond high school. So again, we're looking for those students that are really motivated, know what they want to do. As a matter of fact, I was on an interview last evening with a student and her mom, and we were doing a chat, and the student actually knew her freshman year about the program and was motivated and knew that she was going to apply in her junior year and just got accepted. So very exciting for her to be able to start that progression. So again, when these students find out about the program, they're very excited. Another very important point is they have to have a minimal number of high school classes left to complete to meet their graduation requirements. So what that basically means, they would have 1 or 2 classes left typically to meet the fulfill, or 2 or 3 classes to fulfill their high school graduation requirements. So typically they need their 4th year of English and maybe 1 other or 2 other courses. We can complete those in their first semester while they're a student here at Johnson & Wales. What are the benefits of the early enrollment program? Those students get started on finding their career path sooner. One thing about Johnson & Wales that's really unique is that students, when they first enroll, we put them right into their major, so they'll know right up front, yeah, this is my career path, this is what I want to do. Those students that are in culinary and baking can actually start in lab classes as well as academics. They'll get those in their first year. Somebody had asked the question, I think I saw, about cost of the program. This is a huge benefit for students. They save on the tuition. They only pay half of our regular tuition rate. Reason being is we cut the tuition in half for these students. They're not eligible to file FAFSA because technically they are still a high school student. So what we do is we in turn cut that tuition in half. So those students are paying just under $18,000 for the tuition for that first year. Now on top of that, they are also eligible for Johnson & Wales scholarships. So what that means, any merit scholarship that student receives, we prorate that money. So for example, if a student gets a $20,000 merit scholarship, $10,000 of that can come off that $18,000 bill. And now you're talking it's under $8,000 for their tuition for that first year only. So it is a pretty significant savings for many of the students, especially if they're a high academic student. They're going to get a really good scholarship, and they'll be able to use that part of that money towards their tuition to take that off. Another benefit for students is they can join any of our clubs and organizations. Here in Providence, we have over 150 clubs and organizations. Same thing in Charlotte. They would have opportunities to do that. They can choose to participate in our Division III sports teams. It would fulfill a year of eligibility for NCAA. I've seen it both ways, where students will try out and join the collegiate team. I had a student a couple of years ago that actually was captain of her volleyball team at her high school, and she did not want to leave that position. Because she was local, she was able to commute back and forth to her high school and continue with her high school athletics, as well as be in the early enrollment program. And I think I saw in the chat that someone had asked the question in terms of, do they have to be local to campus to be a part of the early enrollment program? And the answer is no. They can be really from anywhere across the country. Reason being, we do have on-campus housing available. They do pay the full room and board rate. However, one thing that's really nice for our early enrollment students is they have housing specifically designated. So we have 2 residence halls here right in Providence. They have rooms designated just for those early enrollment students. So when they go on the housing portal, only those early enrollment students can see those rooms. So we do try to keep those students roomed together. And as I was mentioning, we have our 2 campus locations to choose from. We have our Providence campus and also our Charlotte, North Carolina campus. Here's a little bit on the screen. I'm sharing with you some of the diversity of both of our campuses as well as the size. You'll see Providence has just under 7,000 students. Our Charlotte campus has just over 1,500 students. One thing that you'll find about both campus locations is our student faculty ratio is an 18-to-1. Many of our classes average about 20 students, so they're not going to be in large lecture halls here. So students will get to know their professors will get to know them. The cool thing is that they're not known to be an early enrollment student. There's no indicator that shows that they're early enrollment. So they're treated like a regular college freshman and integrated right into the classes for those students. And of course, at the end of year 1, they have that opportunity to continue on and take those credits along with them. So at this time, what I'd like to do is I'm going to turn it over to Daniel, who's going to talk to you more about the application process, how these students would apply, and different requirements, and what type of academics we're looking for an early enrollment student. So Daniel.
Thank you, Barbara. Hi, everybody. So again, my name's Daniel. I'm an admissions counselor at the Providence campus. I work specifically with the students within the early enrollment program at this stage. So I'll break down the application process here and talk a little bit about the early enrollment program agreement form, which I think will address some of the questions that we were just looking at in the chat, as well as building off of some of the information that Barbara provided. So the application itself comes in one of 3 ways. So we accept the common application. We also use our online application at apply.jwu.edu, as well as the paper application. So on that same website, you can download and print that out, fill it out old school, mail it in if that's what you'd like to do. There is no application fee associated with any of those methods. As far as the application timeline goes, so the students applying to this program would do so in their 11th year. Because the program requires a visual that I need to see mid-year grades in junior year, we're typically going to see around January to April as the main crux of the applications coming in, because that's when those grades are typically going to start to or are close to being made available. So that application for early enrollment's rolling. We're still accepting them now for students who want to come with us in the fall of 2021. So the application is a piece, obviously, that I need. The transcript is obviously another thing that I need. And again, eventually that's going to need to include the mid-year grades. So the early enrollment program agreement form is the other crucial piece of the application for the EEP program. So what the agreement form does is it brings on board mom, dad, guardians, as well as the counselor, you folks or educators, the guidance counselors from the school, to say, okay, here are the courses that are left for this student to graduate. And like Barbara mentioned, it's likely going to be, senior English, a senior year math, and maybe one other course. So we're going to look at that, and we're going to have you look at the catalog, look at the course descriptions and say, okay, this course matches enough that this is going to fulfill that graduation requirement for the student. So we'll see something like English 1020, an introduction to English composition, or Math 1020, fundamentals of algebra. So we're looking for those courses that are going to satisfy the high school requirement. On top of those, we at Johnson & Wales and the student's academic counselor is going to schedule the students for the other courses that they would traditionally take within their major. So from Chris's example, the rest of his courses after he fulfills those high school requirements are going to be within sports entertainment and event management, because that's the path that he's on as a Johnson & Wales student. So we go through that together to make sure everything looks great. If for some reason a course isn't running, we go over any substitution courses. So that becomes a form that we continue to work on, the counselor and myself, or with Joe and the folks at the Charlotte campus. All right, so what am I looking for in the transcript itself? Minimum of a 2.75 GPA as an overall, and a B- in English as 9, 10, and 11 combined as that average. Special review major. So if a student is particularly interested in something like engineering or something like biology, something very math or science heavy, we do have some special requirements for those programs. So be happy to go into those more, or put those into the chat if you're interested in knowing what specific coursework we are looking for those programs. Those are set by the deans to make sure that students can meet the rigor that those courses and those majors do provide. Now, the next piece, if I get all those materials and it looks awesome and the student is ready to go, there's an interview, and I'm going to conduct that interview really to gauge student maturity, to learn a little bit more about them. Why are they interested in the program? Are they going to come live with us on campus? Are they ready to live on campus? Our parents, our mom and dad looped in? Do we know about the finances for the program? Just to make sure that everything is in line. It's a big jump. It's a very exciting jump, but it's a big jump for a student to make when they're accustomed to having that 12th year completed and then moving on. So we just want to make sure that we are there for that process and making sure that the student and the family feel comfortable as well, which is the point of the interview being conducted. And then, like I mentioned, the requirements and equivalent courses is determined by the counselors. So the high school counselors determining that, and then we work through it together to make sure that all of those requirements are met. And once that comes through, you get an acceptance, you get a merit-based scholarship that's also at 50% for that first year, for that EEP year. And then we move on from there to enroll the student and get them started.
Thank you, Daniel.
Of course.
So I do want to announce here on our screen, we are running a second event for students next week. So if there are students that might be interested, we are sending this out to any juniors that have inquired to learn more about the program and specifically about how they can do this. We are finding a lot of interest from students that want to start college a year early, that are looking to do this. So again, that program will run next week in the evening. So and counselors are welcome to join that as well if you have a question on that, but certainly let us know. So I'm going to leave the contact information up for Daniel and Joe Campos. So again, if you have questions for either admissions officer and for Christopher, who is one of our alumni, who has taken time out of his busy day to join us. He went through the program, can certainly give you the firsthand experience of it, and has been through, like I said, the university system here. So I think he's a great resource for you as well. So at this time, I'm going to open it up to any questions that anyone has about anything that we talked about. I know there've been quite a few questions coming through the chat. So we're hoping to answer all of those. I believe we've gotten many of those answered, but please feel free if anyone would like to unmute and ask a question.
So Barbara, one that I think we might have missed coming through was, could we cover the costs and savings portion again?
Yes, so the tuition for this year is, I have it right here, $35,750. So that divided in half is just over 17,000 or just under 18,000. If a student gets a merit scholarship, I use the example of 20,000 because that's a nice even number. Half of that or 10,000 of that would come off that tuition. So that's the tuition piece. Room and board is a separate fee. So if a student chooses to live on campus, they do pay the full room and board. Room and board varies between about 16 to 17,000 for both room and board for the year. And that would be the same at both campuses. And again, that's a rough estimate. We can certainly get you more specifics on cost. But generally what we'll do is every student is assigned a financial planner here at our university. So those students will be able to sit with a financial planner that can prepare for them what the exact cost is. And again, before they make any decisions, the student can find out what is this going to cost me before they make a decision. So I think that's really important. As you all know, we do follow the national May 1 date. So there is the deadline of May 1st. However, for early enrollment students, many times we find these students find out about the program when we have summer programs. So we do allow them to apply after our enrollment date here or after our the decision date in May. So if a student is going through the process a little bit later, again, we can go ahead and process those applications after the May 1 date as well. And we want them to make sure that they can see exactly what the financials are. So they will work with our planning department in order to determine that again. So those are great questions. Other questions? I see somebody said, can you send it to counselors to post? We can certainly, I'm just trying to think. I'm not sure what you're looking for us to post, but we can certainly put something together.
Barbara, I think that might have been in response when you spoke about the student event.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yes. Yes, actually, anyone that's joined the session, we can forward you the link for that so you can share that out with your students. We can do that after the call, definitely. Yeah, I'm just following through. Excellent.
I think that certainly to the guidance counselors who can promote this with students. If I get the link, I'll forward it to here at North Kingston High School.
Yeah, definitely. And as I said, there are students locally that commute. We have students from all over the country that come in, you know, and live right on campus as first-year students. So a lot of times it's word of mouth that students hear about the program. And many times I find that students hear about it when they're already a senior. I just had one actually this morning that sent me an email, and he's already a senior, so he's not eligible for the program. So it's really getting the word out to these students early on. Ideally, and I think Daniel may have covered this, but when students apply for early enrollment, we need at least mid-year of the junior year grades. So this is a real good time for these students to be looking at these types of opportunities and to be getting their application for early enrollment, because this is when we actually would have them apply. We'd have mid-year grades and we can make a decision on that student. If it's usually before mid-year, then we would have to wait. We like to see at least half a year of the junior year before we make that admissions decision. Yeah. And the nice part is with virtual, we can do the interviews virtually, right, Daniel?
Absolutely, makes scheduling a lot easier.
So in the past, they had to come to campus for their interview. Now we can do them virtually. So yep. I think that that's one of the benefits that's come out of this past year is we have that ability to do that. So students don't have to fly to campus or drive to campus for their interview. We can do that for them. So I think that's a nice advantage for those students.
This is great because I know we seem to have a growing population of students that want to get into hotel, lodging management, those things that I know that Johnson & Wales is premier on too. So they get them early on in their career, send them off here for their senior year and start that up very early. We see a growing community of students interested in that area.
Yeah, and there's additional savings if the student gets into the honors program. They can accelerate their program, they can take additional courses, they can graduate a semester earlier. So they're not only starting college a year earlier, but they can also finish a semester earlier if they're an honors level student, which a lot of these students are accelerated. They're very high achieving students, we find. And sometimes they're just very motivated. They know what they want to do. They're ready to get out of high school. And that's why that interview process is so important, so that we can identify that, yes, this is the right student for the program. They have the maturity. They can handle the coursework. That, again, they're integrated into regular college freshman classes. So we want to make sure that they're able to handle that coursework for their first year. And then we basically fulfill all those credits. We get that done in that first semester, so that, again, they're going to have that semester of college English counts as their full year of college English in their senior year, because, again, it's a college level course. So they're able to get those courses.
And Barbara, we just have in the chat as well, our event director, Christine, put the direct link for students to sign up. So that's now available in the chat as well.
Yeah, so feel free to copy and paste that link, and you can send that out, certainly, to encourage students to sign up for that program, even if they're, and I should probably mention too, I find sometimes students go through the whole process and then all of a sudden, for whatever reason, they get cold feet or whatever it might be. The nice part is they're already accepted. We can always roll over their application to the following year if that's the case. So again, they have nothing to lose. The other piece to it too is our application. There's no fee to apply. So if a student does want to go through the process, apply, see if they can get in, they don't have to pay a fee in order to apply to the university initially. So that's another advantage too for our students. They do have that no fee application they can go through. So, and usually from turnaround, Daniel, how long would you say the turnaround is from the time they apply to the time they get their interview and acceptance?
Once all the materials are in, we typically get that done within 3 weeks, typically 2's the average.
So yeah, so they don't have to wait a long period of time to get that decision. We can generally do that fairly quickly for the students. So, any other questions about early enrollment or the types of students that would be good? Typically, most counselors I find have a student in mind already, or teachers, you have those students, you know them when you meet them. When I'm generally traveling for the university, as soon as I meet those students, I generally know that this student would be a great fit for this program. So when you do see those students, do encourage them to go through the process, encourage them to reach out to us here at the university. If I don't know if Margie or Christine can actually, there's a link right on our website for early enrollment. If you can include that in the chat, that would be very helpful too. That has a lot of information on the website for you. You can download the application as well as the early enrollment program information. There's a brochure that's on the website as well. So if you can throw that in the chat for everyone, I think that would be helpful too. Christopher, any last comments for us about?
I would say, it's an amazing opportunity. And if you feel to anyone that you may know or yourself, if you think Johnson & Wales is the right place in general, and you can go the year early, I would do it. It's definitely builds maturity, number one. It's exciting. You get to be going around campus as a college student, and it's not like you have an early enrollment sign on your head. So you're a regular college student, and only other students know that you're an early enrollment student if you tell them, which you don't have to, and they're going to respect you as if you're a freshman anyway. So it's very, very exciting. And one last thing I didn't get to mention earlier is another great thing about Johnson & Wales is they some amazing study abroad opportunities. I went to Australia for a month over the summer 2-3 years ago, and that was with other students from other campuses as well. We went with some from the Charlotte campus, so it was an amazing opportunity. And bottom line, if anyone has any questions, I'm always here as a resource.
Did you mention, Chris, how you heard about the early enrollment program?
I
don't know if you recall how you.
I did. I came up for my early junior year. I came up for a tour of the campus. And I actually spoke with one of the admissions counselors, and because they knew I was looking so early, they gave me a pamphlet and they kind of explained it a little bit. And they said, hey, if you're interested in the university, this is a great opportunity and help save some money as well. And that's when I really took a hard turn on it. And 3-4 months later, I actually came back, toured during a snowstorm in Providence. And, at that moment, I just knew it was right for me. And as Daniel said earlier, once I did my interview, it was a quick turnaround. Within 24 hours, I was accepted and I was ready to go for that senior year.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, which you make a great point about visiting. We are open for in-person tours. So if you have families, it is one student and one family member. So right now we're still restricted. We'll see as those get lifted, but they are filling up quickly. I know a lot of the seniors are taking up spots because they didn't get the chance to visit us last spring when everything shut down. So, but do encourage your students to sign up early if they are planning to come for a tour. They are right now exterior only, like I said, of the Down City campus, our Harborside campus, where our culinary and baking labs are. They are able to actually go into that facility and see those labs. So we do encourage students. And also we have virtual tours. So if they want to jump on a virtual tour, we run those every week as well. And that's all on the website, the links to register and whatnot. So encourage your students to do that, to really explore that, and certainly look for those opportunities for visiting and hearing more about these things. And that's generally what happens when we meet students. You know right away this student looks like would be a great fit. So Chris, I'm guessing somebody took a look at you and started talking with you and realized, hey, he'd be great for early enrollment, and they were right. So you do know when you meet those early enrollment students that they're the right fit. And we've had a lot of great success stories over the years for students in our early enrollment program. And you are part of our CAT team, which is our collegiate ambassador team. So a lot of these students can get involved and really excel here at the university. So we're really proud of our alumni that are out there and doing very well. And wow, Australia, that sounds exciting.
It was a great opportunity with students from the Charlotte campus. It was 2 weeks in Melbourne and then 2 weeks in Sydney. And it was professors from the Charlotte campus. So it was really good to integrate with them, get to know them. But overall, it just shows, some of the great opportunities Johnson & Wales has to offer.
Excellent, excellent. And what year did you do? Was it your junior year?
It was summer of 2018, I want to say. That was end of sophomore year. That's when I did the study abroad. And then it was spring of junior year. that I did the internship with the Celtics.
Excellent, excellent. So, and you're in your field, you're working.
Yes, absolutely. And I know a lot of other individuals that have some really good jobs coming out of Johnson & Wales as well that I keep very close contact with, and it's a good network. So
Thank you so much. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate your time. And again, I'll open up any other questions from anyone while we're here. We were right at the 30-minute mark. We wanted to give you guys 30 minutes to give you guys an overview, let you know more about our program. So certainly if you have any other questions afterwards, do feel free to reach out to us here at the university. Daniel, perhaps you can put I know I had you guys up on the screen. Maybe I'll bring that back. Your contact information. But again, if you have any questions at all, I put back on the screen Daniel's information as well as Joe's information from our Charlotte campus. So do feel free to reach out to them directly. And certainly, if you have students you want to recommend to us, we'd be more than happy to talk to them about the process as well as anything else for recommendations on that. So thank you everyone for your time. Oh, I saw Nationals World Series. That one's for you, Chris.
I came in right after the World Series, so it was I didn't get a ring. However, one of my colleagues from Johnson & Wales, who graduated from Johnson & Wales in the SEAM department major, he was working for the Nationals at the time. He referred me to the job for the interview, and that's what it's all about. So you build your network and you go from there.
Cool. Speaking of networks, do you feel like Johnson & Wales really has a great reputation and network for any graduate?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's one of the big things that they have is their career expos, which is one in the fall, one in the spring, in a normal world, of course. And that was a huge opportunity to meet a lot of different employers in the area, and companies would obviously try to schedule slots to be at those expos as well so they can meet us students. And that was really great to have those quick one-hitters with them, have a few questions ready, and really, wear a suit and tie, of course. But yeah, those are some of the many great opportunities that they offer.
Did you feel like you had a decent relationship with any one particular professor or instructor that you felt like, wow, they really get to know me and help me out and guide me?
Yeah, definitely. The ones more in your major, they're going to be the ones that are going to definitely hold on to you, and you'll be able to go to them for support. And especially for my time doing the internship with the Celtics, I was also taking some classes at that time. So I definitely had support from my professors, and they realized obviously it's a great opportunity to be with a pro sports team. So they definitely are there for you, and they will support you in any way they can.
Oh, that's good. As well, thank you for sharing your story, and thank you for this opportunity to see this. And we really do appreciate everything you folks are doing for us. We appreciate it so much.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And we hope you have a great rest of your week. And we look forward to hearing from you all in the future as well. Thank you.